When it comes to running and training, I do a lot of things that people don't recommend. I also do a lot of things that people say is optimal and good for you. And this is a frame I live by when it comes to running. And honestly, I think it's just good for life in general. But I want to talk about it because as someone who's been running for several years, if I would have thought about this more in the beginning, I would have been less afraid to try things. And I would have been less afraid to let go of certain things as well. And the phrase is really simple. I heard it on a podcast or a YouTube video. And the phrase is, listen to everyone, follow no one. And I think this is so beneficial, obviously in the context of running, but like I said, for life, is I learn as much as I can about the way people train. And I listen to podcasts and read books. I talk to people at races. I talk to people who are slower than me. I talk to people that are faster than me. And I have learned from all of them and followed none of them. And what I mean by that is I'm not doing things just because someone is pro and says you should do it, or this is optimal, or this is what helped me win. And I like that's what starts the conversation or the thought process of seeing how they train. But I'm not doing it just because they're a pro, right? Like I'm not doing it just because they're faster than me. I'm doing it because I've listened to what they're saying and I'm trying to see if it works for me. And sometimes things do and sometimes things don't. And so one example of this is I've heard David Roach recently talking about being high carb. And so I'm going to try that. Yes, because he's phenomenal and an amazing runner and he knows what he's talking about because he wins. But I'm going to see if that works for me. And I think that's one of the things with like running and of course life, that you shouldn't turn off the idea of learning from anyone just because of X, right? They're vegan or they're slower or they're faster or they're a pro, I'm not a pro, whatever it is, right? You shouldn't shut that down. What you should do is listen and then follow no one. I think ultimately you find what works for yourself. And I think since I've done this, I've had a healthier mindset as a runner. And when I see someone doing something differently, I don't necessarily feel bad. Or I decide, hey, let me try that, but I'm going to follow my own path. And I'm going to listen to this. And if I decide to discard it or not follow through with it, or I try it for a little bit and it's not working with me, I don't feel bad about that. I do have a hard time, and this is just personal, I have a hard time with like science and things like that. Not because I want to disagree with it, but because there's just so many variables and there's so many there's so many studies out there that say different things, right? And so yes, I know we need to lean on science and that's important. I guess my point is being, I don't feel bad if I'm doing something that some study or some pro athlete says you shouldn't do. Or I'm not doing something people say I should do. And maybe I end up having to change my mind later, and I think that's okay. That's part of the journey. That's part of progress. I've shifted my perspective many times about running and training just because I'm trying to find out what works for me. And the other part of this is what worked for me 5 years ago might not work for me now. So it's just an interesting concept to think about. And it just creates this open-mindedness. And I really hope that the people that watch my videos get this, because I don't want them to be copies of me, and I don't want, like, my ego doesn't want you to do what I do just because I do it. Like, I guess that might feel good, but ultimately what I want is I want to help you be better with your running. I want you to do the research. I want you to listen to me but not follow me. I want you to see what I've done that's led to my success and see if it works for you, and if it doesn't, hell yeah. And if it does, hell yeah. Like, it doesn't matter to me. I think what I'm trying to cultivate with this channel is ideas and like trial by error and lessons from my failures and lessons from my winning, and hope that that somehow helps you in what you're trying to do. Even if it's just as simple as losing weight or getting a little bit faster. Me, I'm trying to push the limits and set course records and compete. But, that's not the most important thing. What's more enjoyable is learning and progress and thinking and visualizing and experimenting. That's the thing about running that I think is so great, as well as the obviously health benefits and the mental grit you get from it. So hopefully this is helpful, and for those of you who have been watching some of my videos, I just want you to keep it in mind, not just with me, but particularly with, just listening to people but not following them. And I hope you listen to me. I don't want you to follow me. I want you to find what works for you, and I think that's what's given me a longer career, if you will, in running, because I'm not caught up in other people's stuff. It's what I want, and that season shifts over time, and I listen, and then I'm gonna follow my own path and figure out what works for me. So hope you got something out of this video. I hope that mindset is beneficial to you in running or learning about fitness, and hopefully actually with life. I think it's important to do the same things where I'm listening to people around me, but I'm not following them. I'm going to see what works for me. So if you like running fitness, running content, that's what this channel is about. I am just trying to help people learn from my mistakes and ultimately deepen their relationship with running. Running has quite literally saved my life, and I think if I continue to talk about it more, maybe that can impact other people as well as help me develop my own relationship with running. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate that you're watching this video, and I hope I get to see you in another video sometime soon. Peace.